Good evening, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. My name's Phil. This is the Fan Zone show every Monday, 7:30 till 8. We're live. What do you want to talk about? It's always, what do you guys want to talk about? That is the big thing for the Monday night show. Enzo is coming back to the King Power on Saturday. Do you wish you're watching some Enzo ball played by Steve Cooper's lads? Are you going to boo Enzo? Are you going to give him a cheer? Are you just going to ignore the guy? We want to know, what do you think about this weekend's match? Good grief. We could even beat them. You never know. I've seen Leicester do some amazing things. What do you think? We will get on to score predictions, but we want your views, your comments live for the next 30 minutes. Join the debate. Keep it on Leicester Fan TV.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Yes, good evening. We are live. 29 minutes we've got left. What do you want to talk about? Don't forget, if you want to follow us on the socials, there they are, at Leicester Fan TV on whatever platform you want to talk about. But tonight's big topic is Enzo Maresca. Look at him there with his pose. I know a lot of you love a bit of Enzo. He does look suave. He did look good in that suit. We all loved him last season, but he is coming back. He left us after only one season, and I want your views. I want your comments. I know a lot of fans love Enzo. I know a lot of fans don't like Steve Cooper, but there is a mix of both sets out there. So as ever, we've got the last 30 minutes of this show to get our views in. Ex-Leicester manager, good evening, Andy Medhurst, says, putting the nail in the coffin of the current Leicester manager. Andy, maybe you're right. Maybe this weekend will be it. But Andy, do you expect Leicester really to beat the billion-dollar squad of Chelsea or not? I think we could. But if you looked at it on paper, Andy, would you really think it? Good evening to you, councillor. Hope you're well. What do you think? Matty says we're done, I think. We ran a poll last week, Matty, and over 65-70% of people said it is time for Cooper to go. By the way, I don't want to turn tonight's show completely into a Cooper out, Cooper in sort of debate. We had that last Monday. Let's focus, if we can, on Chelsea coming. But it is like salt in the wounds or whatever, because it's Enzo, isn't it? Craig, good evening. Thanks for watching. Says, knowing Leicester will probably win and be booing Enzo. I just can't make my mind up with Enzo. There aren't many players, ex-players, I would ever boo come back. If they pulled the shirt on for Leicester, I'll give them respect. Managers, I do remember giving Mark McGee a heck of a lot of stick, and Brian Little. So I have done it before. So I don't know what I'm going to quite do with Enzo yet. I'm certainly not going to be giving him too much of a cheer. Philipton, good evening to you. Nice meeting you at the fair. Yes, I chatted with Philipton. Good evening at Loughborough Fair on, I think it was Thursday, Phil. He gave me about 20 minutes about why Cooper out. Come on, Phil. Let's see if we can change my mind. Phil, listen, if Leicester were to beat Chelsea on Saturday, would you change your mind? I've asked a few people that. I've actually had a few people say, believe it or not, I hope we lose, because then Cooper will go. I just cannot believe these things. I'm going to add Simon in very, very shortly, but I want as many views as possible in there. Councillor says, good evening. I have no emotions whatsoever to Enzo. Fair play to home for getting us up. He earned his corn. Yeah, he did his job last season. He did. I have no problem with Enzo. Well done to him for having the most expensive ever championship squad and managing to get it promoted. Well played to him. Tom says, looking forward to seeing Enzo back at the King Power on Saturday. Why, Tom? Why are you looking forward to seeing him come back? Nick says, I think we can beat Chelsea. This is one game this season the players will be more than up for. Unfortunately, it should be like that for every game. Nick's probably got a point. Will the players have something to put out there? And of course, nobody's mentioned Kieran Dewsbury Hall yet, who has barely played a game yet. Lewis is straight in there. Boo him. Boo Enzo. It's definitely crossed my mind. Do you know what? I think the best thing, Lewis, would be for us to get a shock win. That I think would be lovely. Ian the Super Fox says, "Evening, Phil. Another big defeat incoming on Saturday." Listen, if you look at the squads, Ian, billion pound squad compared to what under a sub £300 million squad. You know, if it's Man City coming to Leicester, you probably go, they should probably beat us. Not just look at their starting 11, look at their bench. And again, we've got injuries all over the hockey at the moment. Reed is watching, says, nothing but good things from Enzo. We'll clap him. No one would turn Chelsea down, so why do we have a grudge? Listen, I agree with that. I don't think for a second I would have expected him to turn Chelsea down. I'm surprised he got the Chelsea job, but fair enough to him. Richie says, Leicester fans stop being negative and be positive. Richie, I have to agree with you. There is so much negativity about from Leicester fans. Fans saying, I hope we lose against Forest. I hope we lose against Chelsea so that Steve Cooper will go. I can't remember hearing stuff like this. I nearly said I swear there, Richie, but it is interesting. Imran says, don't give a monkeys about Enzo. He's not our concern. However, I think our squad is not Premier League quality. I think it is, Imran. I think the squad is Premier League quality because I think if you put this team in the Championship, you'd say there's too much Premier League quality in it. Of course, we should win the Championship. I think it's a bottom six Premier League side squad. That's the thing. Fatua's out, Ayu's out, Ricardo Pereira's out. Who'd you bring in, Imran? That's the question in there. Now, I'm going to add Simon in. I want as many of your views and comments if you can. If you're watching this, please give us a like and give us a share. Simon, thanks for joining us so much tonight. How are you?
I'm well, Phil. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. I don't agree. Imran just said there, don't think our squad is Premier League quality. Listen, I often do agree with Imran, but I actually think the squad is Premier League quality, but I just think it isn't that high quality at the moment. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the squad we went down with. I listened to Gary Lineker on his podcast the other day, and he was alluding to the squad we got relegated with and the players that were in that. And you look at that and you compare and contrast that to the squad we've got now, and it's incomparable in terms of personnel. But is it Premier League quality? Yeah, I think it probably bottom six, bottom eight Premier League quality. I think if they're organised and motivated, they can steer clear of the bottom three this season.
John Tower says, let's park 2 buses on Saturday and see if Enzo's got a plan B. Tom says, John, we could park two buses and a tank and we would still concede goals in there. There will be fans, Simon, and I know some of them. I work with some of them who say attack is the best form of defence. To which I do understand that. But Simon, normally at whatever level of football it is, if you've got a team which is far superior across the whole squad against another team, if you try to outplay them in the same style, there's normally an outcome which is normally the better side prevails, isn't there? Don't we have to try and play them a bit different? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I think we've seen teams come up into the Premier League. I think Ipswich are a good example of it this season. Maybe Burnley last season, Norwich a few seasons ago, that have carried on the same ethics in their play as they did in the Championship that made them successful, and they haven't really amended the way they play to take into account the improvement in the opposition. And whilst it's honest and pleasant to watch, it quite often ends up on the wrong end of a result. And I think you have to take into account, especially when you're playing, for want of a better word, the elite teams in the Premier League with these huge squads that have cost a fortune, that you can't go toe to toe with them. You've got to be a little bit more cute than that and manage the game appropriately.
Yeah, Lewis says there, just park the bus. 0-0 would be a good result. It would be a good result, wouldn't it, Simon?
Yeah, I think right now, I think we'd all take a draw and run, given the way we played against Man United a couple of weeks ago now, which was just a bit depressing really for me in terms of the effort as much as anything.
Yeah, Luke says we need to go and show there's a performance and be positive in there. J.A. Mills, that's Jason, I think Mills, says we're going to get battered, as would be the case if we had all the players fit. Simon, there is several players we know of not going to be fit, which is Fatua, Ayew, and Ricardo Pereira, amongst others, 3 potentially starting players there in some shape or form for us. That, I think I already look at the squad depth and go, ooh, who do you replace those 3 with?
Well, and there's a question, because the team's only going to go down in standard by having to backfill those players. I mean, up front is the question for me this weekend, Phil, in terms of who's going to play up front. Is Vardy fit again or not? I don't know. It's not really been talked about, but he had a back problem. Daka's close, apparently. He's been training again. So does he then become part of the matchday squad at the weekend? That for me is the big question. Is who takes that role?
Well, Simon's asked people the question. So if you're watching this live, put in there, who would you pick to start up top? I think most people will go for Vardy, but again, that's based on Vardy being fit. I think hopefully Vardy will be fit. I am one of Daka's biggest critics, but I do hope he gets fit as soon as possible, because we can't just keep surviving on Daka, and clearly the player, the management team aren't fancying Edouard so much. So if you're watching this live, do put in the comments who you think should start up top. Leicester, Tom says, the squad of players we have is good enough to stay up for sure. Sadly, we don't have a manager with a tactical ability in the league, which I know a lot of the supporters do buy into that conversation in there. But Andy says here, only 4 players in our team are Premier League quality. I quite often, Simon, have the debate in the office with other people around us, and I say, go on then, name me players who are clearly like better than we are, i.e. really good Premier League side players. And I sort of go, I definitely see Hermansen, Vardy if he's fit. And this is where I start to struggle, because I go Winks probably, but not a lot higher than the level we are. I've seen some reports, by the way, that Spurs want to buy him back. I don't see that for a second. But and that's where I start to falter, because I don't know, Simon, who else is clearly a mid-table or higher Premier League player in our current squad? Clearly.
Clearly. You'd suggest that the likes of Connor Cody were getting quite a few Premier League teams. He's experienced.
But he can't get in ours.
Well, and this is where I'd probably start to differ with the manager's selections, if I'm honest. I think he's solid. His experience. He's got lots of years' experience. I think he'd squeak into Southampton, Ipswich's team, etc. I think he's a good one to have around. I'd be playing him more. I think he's also a good talker on the pitch as well.
Yeah,
a good organizer of a back four.
But if you put Cody in, who would you drop?
I'm not particularly enamoured with Vestergaard at the minute. I know he's dropped back in the side, but I don't think he's quite. Whilst he's got capability of passing, I'm not sure in terms of pace at the back. He ends up getting found out. His positioning at times isn't perfect. Faz is hit and miss. Sometimes he plays and you think, blimey, this guy's a Premier League shoe-in. In other games, he'll score an own goal and have a nightmare, and you think, oh, okay, he's on an off day. Okoli, I think, started the season well, but has kind of faltered as the season's gone on a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I'd play Faz and one other, and for me, it'd be kind of Cody, in my opinion.
So Simon is the ultimate. You should be a politician, Simon, because you managed to turn my question about which players are definitely higher level Premier League players into, like, let's talk about the defence.
Sorry, but
yeah, no, it's fine.
It's a struggle, isn't it?
Is there any other players in there where you go, they are definitely mid to high table or higher than us Premier League players? Because I think if people started saying Fatawa and Mavadidi, I'd go, they literally have not proved it yet. A couple of people here have said, John O'Tower says Buonatti is the only upper Premier League quality, and Tom says it as well. And I would probably go, yes, possibly, but he's got a lot to learn before he gets there in my books.
Yeah, and I think when you mention that kind of group of players, Fatawu, Mavididi, Buonanotte, they're all learning their Premier League trade this season collectively between them, and Leicester City's the vehicle for them to demonstrate their Premier League players. So we're gonna enjoy the good parts of that, and we're also going to suffer the mistakes. And I think like you say, they're not yet, but we all hope that they will be.
I mean, Leon says he needs more time, Buonatti. There is a reason why Brighton, mid to higher table team, looked at him 27 games last year in the Premier League and Cups and said, great player, there's no way we're selling him, but he's going out on loan and we'll loan him to Leicester because he'll learn a lot, Simon. They're not stupid with what they've done there.
No, and you've got to give Buonanotte credit for the commitment that he's given that as well, because for me, there's not a player on the pitch for us this season that's been more passionate and committed to the cause than him.
Here's an interesting one, and I talked about it before you came on. Kyle says here, we will definitely be chanting Enzo on the weekend. I can guarantee you, Kyle, I definitely will not be. I'm not saying I'll boo him or whatever, but I definitely won't be chanting Enzo's name on Saturday. What's your feeling about Enzo on Saturday? Is it indifferent? I can't care. Is it annoyed by him, or you're going to stand there with Kyle and chant his name in front of our current manager and team?
No, I'm not going to chant his name, but at the same time as that, I'm not going to show him any disrespect either. He got us promoted back to the Premier League after, at the first attempt, and that for us was manna from heaven in the situation we were in. Another season down there, the squad started to disintegrate even more, and we're stuck down there for ever and a day. So, I'm absolutely respectful. Whilst, like some other fans, I wasn't particularly enamoured with the way he played football at times last season. I'm respectful for the fact that he got us out of it.
Yeah, there's a mixed reaction here. Leon is, don't really care, he jumped ship, simple as, money talks. Gary says he's a traitor. Peter Taylor says, how can you chant Enzo, FFS? But Reedy says, what a manager, will give him a massive chant in there. There will be a mixed bag. For me, he had one season with us, did what he had to do, did it pretty well, got us where we needed to be. So he'll always get a little thanks for me, but I'm not going to be chanting his name at a game like this. Tom brings up, by the way, we're talking about Buonanotte, Simon. And again, this comes back to people who are injured. Buonanotte is suspended on Saturday, and that's a massive loss. Is El Canouse going to come in for him?
Yeah, probably. But I'd rather see Alves get a go, if I'm honest, Phil. I don't think El Canouse has done anything to, apart from me, he scored that goal the other week. But apart from that, he's not really put a performance on the pitch to warrant a first team start for me yet.
You genuinely think you'd put Alves in ahead of him? I mean, he comes with the price tag, 20 million. I think if you were to put Alves, obviously a young lad we had high hopes of, ahead, I don't really know what that says about your recruitment, Simon.
Well, I think it says, as I understand it, John Rudkin recruits the players at Leicester. Obviously, during the summer, we had a limited budget. We also had a points deduction looming over us. There wasn't a wealth of players banging Seagrave door down to come and play for us. So we ended up with El Canouse amongst others. There's a lot of mediocrity, in my opinion, in what we signed in the summer. And whilst he's a young lad and he's got a lot to learn, so far for me, he's not really demonstrated he's worthy of a start. Whilst I suspect that Cooper will go down that route, I'd rather he went down another one. And I don't think, personally, my opinion, that Will Alves is getting a fair rub of the green at Leicester at the minute. I think he's better than his selection so far has displayed.
Yeah, Scott says maybe instead of El Canouse, McAteer will get a start in there. Andy says, what's the difference between Enzo and Martin O'Neill? They both won us trophies and both left. Andy, I think you're older. Are you old enough, Andy, to remember Martin O'Neill or not? If you are, I think you'd know what the difference was, which is probably about 5 years and a little bit more. I think Martin O'Neill's team got into the top 8 of the Premier League for 2 seasons, won 2 League Cups, got promoted out the Championship. I think Martin, I would not have them in the same bracket. By the way, somebody did say to me today in the office that Enzo is probably one of our all-time best managers, but I'm not getting into that debate because it's, for me, total nonsense. Cooper doesn't appear to have much interest in our development squad, says Matty Bond in there. Taito Blue says Enzo didn't like Leicester fans. There was a funny relationship there as well. I mean, just reacting there, Simon, to it, there was a funny relationship at times with Enzo because he did say if the fans don't like it, they can go and support somebody else.
Well, it unravelled, didn't it, after Christmas, if you remember? And at one point, that chunk of form from New Year to, I think it was February time, our form was like 16th or 17th in the league at one point. But because we'd amassed such a lead before Christmas that, we only dropped to third. But when we did drop to third, that was when the fans started to realise that maybe this wasn't a done deal and guaranteed, and there was a little bit of dissent. And I think a lot of that was not just about the results; it was about the way Enzo was playing football. That keep the ball, rotate it round and round. You'd be at the cusp of a scoring opportunity 1 minute and back with the keeper, 10 seconds later. And I think, me included, there was a lot of fans that kind of got frustrated with that. But he was stubborn with it to a fault. And there were rumours around at the time after that Vardy kind of rallied the players and got them over the line in the end. But it felt like it was faltering a little bit, and it also felt like quite a few of the other teams in the league kind of figured it out by the end.
Yeah, indeed. Mark says here we don't back our managers well enough to criticise, which is my opinion of what's going on with Cooper at the moment. Coming back to the players in and out, Simon, and again, people watching this, I think this is going to be this week's interesting debate, because whoever Cooper picks on Saturday, people will criticise his team, as we do for most managers. We'll look there and go, "I'd have done that." I think this week's one, for me, my worry for Leicester in particular is that the quality of depth already takes you into, is Bobby Reid going to play? If Vardy's injured and Daka's not quite fit, who's dropping into the striking role? Who's going to go on the wing if Fata? Because if Fata was not there, you'd probably go, well, put Ayew in there. Both gone. Buonatti's out, suspended. Is it El Canous out? It looks sketchy already, Simon.
It looks weak, Phil. Let's be honest. We had a much stronger team out against Man United 10 days ago, whatever it was, and it looks like we're in trouble this weekend. And I think for Cooper, it's bad timing, because I think the fans are running out of patience. And if he has to put out a significantly weakened team, you just alluded to Bobby Cordova-Reid. There's another example, in my opinion, of abject mediocrity signed this summer. Can you remember?
100%.
Can you think of anything he's done that's in any way, got us a goal or created any sort? I can't think of anything.
No, but then again, I come back, like you say, who signs the players? Because some people will say it's Cooper. I don't think it is. I don't think it's Enzo. I think we now have a system where it is the directors of football who sign, and that's not just at Leicester, that's everywhere. But the fact that Crystal Palace got rid of Edouard and Ayew, and Fulham got rid of Reid, these are lower mid-table sides, and they didn't want these players.
Yeah, and I think that's telling. You're right. Palace obviously had a change of manager last season to get themselves out of a spot of bother. They and we've signed their cast-offs, for want of a better way of putting it, without being rude. It's not very ambitious, but I suppose we have to accept, Phil, that was the financial situation, along with that points deduction we was in the summer. You would hope that the club would have a little bit more opportunity to get something in January. Now we're clear of that points deduction, and things, if we're clear of the bottom three and it looks like we might be staying up, then maybe some better players will be interested in signing for the club in January.
Yeah, I would agree. Matty says we're down to the bare bones in terms of the squad. Cooper going to get it, though, he says in there. Pep adapts, tactical decisions, changes, game changes. Nothing like Enzo in there. Richie says get behind Cordova-Reid. I just think Richie, we will do, but I don't think he is that good. Callum says Ayew's been all right. Callum, I'm with you. I think Ayew has been okay. Phil Upton says who's Fox's loans manager now? Huth has gone. Don't know, Phil, is the honest answer in there. Michael says here, that's right, Phil, the board buy players, not the coach. Yeah, I believe that's what happens. So when they buy a little gem, you have to give, like John Rudkin in the team, some like kudos and say well done. But when it doesn't happen, it's not going to be easy. Simon, we haven't really even touched on the quality of Chelsea's team, which is like, it is chalk and cheese. And this is what I say to people my honest, Simon, is what do you expect from Cooper with the tools at his disposal, which is this squad? Because this squad for me is one that's going to scrape and fight and lose a lot of games this season. And we just need to be the fourth worst team in the league or higher. But if you look at that Chelsea team, Simon, all the way through it, let's bring on a 30, 40, 50 million, 60 million pound player off the bench. It's not the same game.
No, it's almost a different league, isn't it? In terms of, I mean, the one thing I'd say about that, Phil, is that you take this back to that season we got promoted out of the Premier League, not last season, but the last time, 2013-14. But we're going way back now, 10 years. God, how time flies. We had a scouting system in place that was coming up with gems. I mean, Anthony Konoko, Riyad Mahrez, Kante. These players didn't cost a lot of money, but we were scouring the depths of second division French and German football, whatever, and coming up with these real gems. And then almost the business model of the club was based on signing those gems, displaying them in our team, and then selling them for a profit 3 or 4 seasons later. What happened to that? How did we end up buying other teams? End of life players that are on the downward slope, rather than young hungry talent from where did that change? Because
I think you'd say El Canoes fits that model, although we've paid a tremendous amount for him at 20 million. But I assume 20 million's the new, Riyad Mahrez 350,000. It's the new, that's cheap. And if he does all right, you'll sell him for 50 or 60. But I hear what you're saying. And again, you would almost argue Fatawa and Mavididi fit that bill, maybe. And then you've got Alves, McAteer. You only need 1 or 2 to come good. But that's where we're at, Simon. As yet, 11 games in, there's not one of them, apart from Buenatti maybe, and he's had mistakes, is you say that they're going to be sold at the end of the season because somebody will want them.
And Phil Buenatti is not our player, and we've got no clause to sign him either.
No, it's going to be interesting. Councillor says, hopefully Saturday will be the result of the season. A big ask, but miracles happen. Simon, it won't happen probably. But I absolutely am desperate for us to pull off that shock win for multiple reasons this weekend against Enzo's Chelsea. Is one, I'd love to shove one up Enzo like that and say, there you go. Off you go. 2, I'd love to shove it up a lot of fans' views and say, give Cooper a chance, mate. Because at the same time, we had that bad result against Man United. Obviously, Ipswich had a good result at Spurs. And everybody going, oh, look at Ipswich doing it at Spurs. Why can't we do it? And my comeback to them is, yeah, but we are higher than them. So I would love next Monday, nothing more than to be here going, please, will you give Cooper just a little bit more chance? Look what we did against Chelsea. The bookies will tell me it ain't going to happen. The squad tell me it won't happen. But Simon, do you got any chance that you think it could happen?
I'd love it to happen, Phil. I think the whole club needs a shot on the arm. The fans, the manager, the players, everyone needs a boost. It feels flat after that game at Old Trafford the weekend before this. We need something. Do I think it'll happen against Chelsea? I think it's unlikely. But again, for me, it stems back to the basics in terms of if your team leaves it all on the pitch and you end up leaving the King Power Stadium feeling like your team left it all out there, they were motivated, they were organised, and they got beat by a better side, then most rational football fans will not go home moaning. But I don't feel like we've done that for 90 minutes all season, whatever we put on the pitch. And until we start laying performances down and leaving it all on the pitch for 90 minutes, I don't give them much hope of certainly beating Chelsea this weekend. So I'm sorry, whilst I agree with you, we desperately need it. I just can't see it happening, especially with the massively weakened squad now we're going into this game with.
Is that Cooper it has to come from, or is it something inside the players?
It's both. Cooper has to be.
Both.
Yeah, Cooper has to be the spark. Him and the coaches have to be the initiative, just like with you and your business, Phil. You've got to motivate your staff, just like I have in my job. But ultimately, they've got to go and do it. You can't do it for them. So it's both. But it doesn't feel like that's coming for me from the coaching staff at Leicester. It feels a bit soft, if I'm honest.
I guess we'll see this weekend, because they shouldn't need much incentive to say to effectively a lot of the players who were here last year is, there's the guy who did that with you, who left you, and now let's go, show him who you are, show him why you are in there. It's going to be interesting, Simon. I just say, I hope this time next week I can sit here and just go, well, there we go. We've just beat Chelsea.
It'd be fantastic if we could.
14th or 13th in the league with 14 points. Shut the and let's just get on with watching Leicester. I am actually, Simon, a little bit sick of having the debate every week, because I said to somebody else, if we were to beat Chelsea, massive if, and then, do you give Cooper like 4 or 5 games breathing before you go back at him? Or if the week after we lose, are you straight back at him? And they went, I'm straight back at him. I'm just like, oh dear, this is not football as I used to watch it, where you'd have a manager for a bit longer and give them a bit of a chance. But I guess that's the world we live in now, maybe, Simon.
Yeah, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but I just want to see my team give it all, give it everything on the pitch, give it 90 minutes, blood and thunder. If you get beat, you get beat, but go and have a damn good go. And I don't think anyone really could complain if that was the case. If we were organised and motivated and we had a damn good go. Playing for 20 or 30-minute spells in games is not going to get results at this level.
Yeah. Listen, people are asking for some score predictions. I'm going to save that. Simon is hosting on this week's show, The Fox's Focus, which, Simon, do you know what time you're going live this Thursday? Is it 7:30?
7:30, yeah. 7:30, mate.
The most unconvincing 7:30 I've ever heard, Simon. Anyway,
I don't know if is Jono joining this weekend?
Yeah, I think so.
This week?
So
yeah, so
join
Jono. So
join Jono and Simon at 7:30 this Thursday in Fox's Focus live on all Leicester fan channels, and they'll do score predictions. They'll know, because they'll have had the press conference, who's going to be in and who's going to be out potentially. So you can have that debate then. Sam and Reedy are doing a tactics show on Thursday lunch where they'll be going through who they think's going to be in that. So join them at 12:30. And of course, can't forget the Fox's Aftermath show on Sunday, which Jamie from the Fox's Aftermath is down at the King Power on Saturday, signing autographs, living the life of luxury. He won't buy a pint. He'll be expecting everybody to buy him a pint. I'll have to go and buy him one. So if you do see him or me down there, we'll be in the pubs after the game, because don't forget it's an early kickoff. Simon, hopefully see you down the ground on Saturday. I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Simon. Absolutely brilliant in there. Gary says, should have gone in the international break, talking about Steve Cooper in there. Callum says, wish we could play how we did against Spurs in the second half every game in there. And we need to stop scoring in injury time to get a draw, says Leon in there. Chester Leicester says, Scott, it's all good. I personally believe Enzo is tactically sound, but I do see your point in the fact that he didn't adapt to win in the rare games we struggled in there. Let's hope we can frustrate him, and let's hope Enzo's lack of plan B comes home to that'd be even sweeter. No plan B. If I'm here next Monday saying, I told you Enzo's got no plan B. They were 2-0 up at the King Power and we beat them 3-2. And we all had a jolly good pint or two in the Fox and Saw and Local Hero afterwards. That's what I call a Saturday. Do you? I'll see you down there. Thanks for Simon for joining us. I'll see you at the match on Saturday. Come on, Leicester!
The City Machine is on the march again!
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.